Thanks for tuning in today to Goonies Minute, everybody. Right at the top of today's episode, we'd like to tell you that friend of the show Brad Mendenhall of the Cosmic Geppetto podcast will be donating $1 to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for every good iTunes review that Goonies Minute receives. We here at Pele Media would like to thank Brad and the Cosmic Geppetto podcast for their continued efforts in fighting this disease. For more information on cystic fibrosis, visit cff.org. And for now, let's get into the minute.
This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. This is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And today we are here to go over minute number 84, and we are doing that with our special guest this whole week, Scott from Pirates of the Caribbean Minute. Scott, how you doing?
Doing good. It's great to be back again.
So, for anybody who might not know, we actually had you on one of our Patreon episodes a couple of months ago where we talked about our top 3 pirate-related movies, and we had a lot of fun doing that. We're thinking about doing another one coming up where we're going to be talking about all things Pirates of the Caribbean, be that the ride or the film series that you guys are covering. So we're really looking forward to that. What is it about Pirates of the Caribbean that made you guys want to choose that movie to break down minute by minute?
It's a mix of history, sci-fi, and just really that kind of cool swashbuckler adventure story that I really love just as a kid and as an adult. And I think that's why I've always been drawn to Goonies, too. It's because that is a version of a swashbuckler that I could relate to as a kid, and now I just want to have my own pirate adventures. And so, yeah, it really just is a great time, and I think that it's brought back maybe pirate movies to the current generation where maybe we hadn't seen any in a while. And so it really has brought that back. I think it's just energizing people around pirates again, so it'll be interesting to see how that does.
Definitely. In the previous minute, the Goonies had emerged from the tunnels into a massive open cave. After checking to see if they were all right, they had each turned their attention to One-Eyed Willie's ship, the Inferno, at the far end of the cave. At minute 86, all of the Goonies jump in cheer and excitement. They have finally made it. Everyone is laughing and celebrating. Bran gives Mikey a hug, and then Andy. Steph gives Mouth a hug, and then after realizing who she's hugging, she shoves him into the water. Meanwhile, the Fratellis are in the organ room. They each walk closely to the wall and carefully make their way through the door. We cut back to the cave. The Goonies have found a ladder hanging off the side of the Inferno. Mikey is the first to make it to the top. They each slowly walk along the ship's deck, taking in its every detail. Even though he is lost in amazement, the mission is not over for Mikey. He has yet to find One-Eyed Willie and his treasure. And thus ends minute 86 of the Goonies. So, here at minute 84, let's see, I believe in the last minute I said that you could see the crewmen waving from the side of the ship. I believe that's actually 30 seconds into this minute.
I'm going to have to check that out for sure.
Yeah. And it could very well be something just kind of hanging off the side of the ship. I don't know. But, I don't know if you're familiar with this, and I had always heard that this was a deleted scene from the movie, but for some reason I just always thought it was somebody lying to me. And yet, at the end of the movie, when the news crew is on the beach interviewing them, they're saying, man, the part with the octopus, oh, that really scared us. And they're like, what octopus? There was a deleted scene, a scene that was shot for the Goonies that was deleted where an octopus attacks Steph and Mouth, and then Data is able to save the day by turning on his little cassette player and shoving it into the octopus's mouth.
It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, and I'm telling you right now, if they would have put that in this movie
would have...
nobody would have done a minute breakdown.
No, absolutely not.
It would have humiliated this movie.
Or if we were doing it, it would have been out of, novelty. We would have kind of been making fun of it.
I mean, the
octopus starts breakdancing.
It's so bad. That's so bad.
Yeah.
That had to be a joke. I pray to God that had to be a joke.
It's an expensive joke. But the thing starts breakdancing and kind of moving away from them to the beat of the music and throwing his tentacles around. It's so
bad.
It's bizarre. And I don't remember what song it is that Data has playing whenever he does that, but have you ever seen this?
I remember something about it, and I don't remember where I came across, but it definitely struck me as I'm glad it wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
But actually, and I know that we're not necessarily talking at the end, but when I saw or when I remember seeing the end scene when Data mentions that about the octopus, actually it worked for me that I never knew about the octopus because I just assumed that these were kids and they were embellishing this whole adventure story even more than they needed to, because that's what I would have done.
It's either they left it in to emphasize that, hey, these are children and that's what kids do, or the editor just got kind of lazy. Screw it. So, but you can still find it on YouTube, and they actually play it occasionally when it'll come on TV, and I don't know if that's to fill time, but you can find it on YouTube, and it's quite bizarre.
Hey, we've talked before about the interesting relationship between Steph and Mouth, and you know how whenever there's all this elation whenever they see that pirate ship, and you see Mouth hugging Steph, and then you hear two gods back and forth, or back to back, excuse me, and they don't realize they're hugging each other.
Yeah.
And then she's so disgusted that she's actually hugging Mouth. But I had forgot about this because at the end of the movie, when everybody has their someone or something
on the beach,
we were trying to make sense of the Mouth-Steph connection, and there were a few more things in the movie that we didn't realize.
Yeah, there's moments, and you could say that moment on the beach is not necessarily romantic. It's not a romantic connection, just like two buddies who have, kind of, I don't know, been making fun of each other the whole time, playfully. But it is kind of weird when you consider that Steph is clearly Andy's age, and they make note of Andy's age as 17 earlier when they're playing the organ, and Mouth is clearly no older than like 12. So what's up? Was this just another like the writer just getting a little bit lazy, or just straight up not caring,
because when it comes to them two, it's never a big deal to assume that there might be something there. Yet when it's Mikey and Andy, it's supposed to be so horrible.
Cute. Or
such a big deal. When all of these people are the same age differences, or at least it's portrayed that way to the viewer.
So that leads us to believe that maybe them talking at the end is just two friends who are like, they pick on each other.
What do you think about that, Scott?
Yeah, that's how I always viewed it, is that they were kind of they were the opposites, and they didn't like each other. They were kind of revulsed, or at least she had some kind of revulsion for him, and then they were becoming friends at the end because they just experienced this craziness. But I also thought it was almost like this genius between Spielberg, Donner, and Columbus. It's like they channeled their inner child with this whole particular scene with them hugging and stuff. Because there's something, I think, for like all this kind of young age group that this movie was targeted to, because you have the really young crowd, or the young kids, and they're taking that Steph, Mouth, that, oh God, I was just hugging him, that yuck, that's a girl or a boy, why would I hug him? The cooties kind of deal.
That's true. That's cool.
Yeah, and then you have the bit older kid that maybe is still in kind of denial for either liking boys or liking girls, and so you're playing it off as how dare I hug this person. And then you have behind them Brand walking over to embrace Andy, which gives something to the teens that are into boys or girls. And so you kind of really hitting all those kind of groups. And so I think that's the beauty of Goonies there.
Absolutely.
Very
that's
good
a real
point.
good point there.
Definitely. Takes care of that problem.
They switch back to the Fratellis that are still trying to navigate around that organ.
Yeah.
And you see an interesting theme here that's happened throughout the movie, where Ma is fearless and Ma is the one that takes charge. Those two brothers are just buffoons. They're frightening buffoons. But here's a situation also where they're afraid. They're not afraid of much, but they're afraid of walking that little small amount of land to try to get to the opening to where they can go down the water chute. And you have Ma just as all business. Follow me, she says. And it's just another one of those kind of cartoonish things of the Fratelli Brothers.
Now, you got to think about something for a second that I've never imagined. Ma Fratelli is about to be sliding down one of those water chutes.
Oh, yeah.
Screaming the whole way.
It's too bad she didn't have a bikini to put on for that. That would have been a nice visual. Of course, that would have probably made it R-rated just to see that woman in a bikini.
Yeah.
But it could have added some humor to it.
I'm kind of glad that we didn't get that.
That's too bad.
Well, they throw the
Too
lump.
bad.
There's that music that accompanies them, just like you were saying, as these kind of cartoon brothers here.
Yeah.
But there's that lumbering music. It's like they're kind of just.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It really fits there. They are not graceful at all.
No, not at all.
Okay, you go back to that pirate ship, and the Goonies pull themselves up on a rope, and then also one of those ladders that's kind of like hanging down. Those things, man, I would not want to climb up one of
Yeah,
those.
especially if it's been hanging there for like 300 years.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in, what was it? Is it Superman or Superman 2 where they break out, what's his name?
Lex Luthor, right? From
I was about to say Gene Hackman, yeah. Lex Luthor from the jail, and he's trying to, he has to go up one of those things into the helicopter.
That's right.
Yeah.
One of those ladders, man.
Well, do you remember Batman when Jack Nicholson is trying
yes,
to make his way up?
yes. That's
No.
just scary to me. Those
Yeah.
things, I mean, to me, that would be frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been up one, and I don't want to be up one.
No.
But somehow they managed to pull their way up there. And I'll tell you what, no expenses or details was left out of this pirate ship.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. Just looking
Yeah.
at, I was just trying to look at every little thing, from the telescopes to the dust or moss or whatever it is hanging.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's like we were saying yesterday. It's every penny of this part of the budget is on display. I mean, there's nothing that was built that you're not seeing. And damn straight, like, if you're going to build this set and put that much work and detail into it and make sure it's full scale, you're going to assume that they would put everything on camera. So go ahead, Seth.
Have we heard the name of One-Eyed Willie's ship earlier in the movie? I'm trying to remember back if we heard it.
Inferno.
Because we see it here. We see it on the ship at this
Yeah.
minute, but I don't know if it was mentioned earlier in the movie at all.
I don't know. I mean, if it was probably clearly.
I don't know if it
Did
was.
Mikey
I don't
mention
think it was. That was something we mentioned when we were doing research, like in the preliminary episode we have. I know we talked about it, but I don't know if I remember it being
Mikey
mentioned.
might, when he's recounting the legend in their attic, he might mention it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember offhand, but yeah, what a set, Now, I mentioned that there's some kind of sad information that goes along with it, and since it's Friday, I guess I'll go ahead and try and ruin everybody's weekend with this. The set was, once shooting was done, the studio said, listen, this thing was pretty expensive. It's a great set. It's a great prop, for that matter. Does anybody want this? And everybody said, well, sure, but I have nowhere to put it. I don't know what to do with this. And they said, okay. The only thing that can be done at this point is to demolish it.
Oh, get out of town.
And so there was an opportunity for that thing to be taken and saved for, posterity's sake. One of the biggest and coolest movie props of all time, and it was completely demolished. So we talked last week. We had some special guests on, and we talked about how all but one of the, I think it was 5 sharks for Jaws were made. All of them had completely deteriorated or disappeared except for one that was found in a junkyard, and it was identified by the production designer of Jaws, who verified that it was the real thing. And so now it's being refurbished, and it's going to be put into a film history museum that's being put together
put
right now.
back in the ocean and sent to eat people.
Exactly. But it's terrible to think about stuff like that. Like both of they used 2 boats for Jaws, and one of them was completely demolished at Universal Theme Park, and the other somehow found its way onto a beach in some like private land that someone owned, and they put it on the beach, and it has slowly rotted away, and people have come and like picked bits and pieces off of it, and I don't even know if any of it's still there. I do know that for, I think it was like a 35 or something anniversary, the 35th anniversary of Jaws, there was a big commemorative book that was made, and you could they took like little, I think 1 square inch of that boat and put it in this book that you could buy. And it was, there was only like 100 copies or something like that.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But I hate hearing about, famous props and really cool things that just, I don't know, they got to get demolished or lost or whatever.
That can only happen in the pre-internet nowadays, right? I mean, because if they were to come out and say who wants this, then there'd be 8 billion people trying to get that thing now as opposed to back then.
There absolutely would. And there's actually, I think it's the prop store or the propshop.com is a website where you can go and they have different props and bits of movie memorabilia that you can buy. And it's, of course, all comes with a certificate of authenticity. We actually had a special guest on Jurassic Park a Minute a few weeks back who has, I don't know if you remember the sequence where the girl backs up to like some lockers or pipes or something in an arm that a dinosaur is eaten off. Yeah, well, there's a guy, he was our special guest, he found that prop online and now he owns it. And yeah, someone's arm.
Crazy.
And I know that the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark is on display in the Great Movie Ride at Disney World. So, you know, I don't know. It sucks that this pirate ship had to kind of go down like that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, today some kid would be delivered to their house, and their parents would be wondering how they're going to get it in their backyard with the internet these days.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's a connection with the Inferno, the name, and I don't know how much you guys talked about it before, but I thought it was interesting that as we're doing Pirates of the Caribbean, this name Inferno, as in like Dante's Inferno, has come up in Pirates of the Caribbean. So, you know, I really started looking into it, and it is really in a lot of kind of pop culture references out there. It really is just amazing. And I thought how cool it is to have Inferno as the name of One-Eyed Willie's ship, because he basically betrays all of his crew to hide the gold, kills everybody except, as Mikey says, maybe one of these guys got out. But it really fits into Dante's, say, 9 Circles of Hell, and we talked about this on Pirates of the Caribbean because Jack Sparrow actually says that the deepest level of hell is reserved for betrayers and mutineers, and that's exactly what One-Eyed Willie is here. He's betraying his crew.
That's cool.
No kidding. I did not ever think of it like that. In fact, on Monday, you're going to be joining us again with Heather. That is definitely something I want to get back into is what went down. You know, did Willie kill all the guys, or how that might have gone down and why he's still stuck in there? What was that part of his plan, or how all of that went down? Because that's something that kind of has always gone a little bit over my head, you know, at least before I was breaking the movie down minute by minute. But I'll tell you what, if that's all you guys have, then we will go ahead and call it a week on this and resume here on Monday. Chris, that sound good to you?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a plan.
Good deal. All right, everybody, tune back in with us on Monday for minute number 85, and we're going to have Scott on with us again. And until then, this is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we're here to remind you that Goonies never say die. Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram at GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Pele Media, and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Pele Media.